What's up and welcome back to Kinda Funny's Mad Max in Review. That's right, we're ranking, reviewing, and recapping every Mad Max movie. They said it couldn't be done. They said we would never go to Thunderdome, let alone beyond Thunderdome, Nick. But here we are. We have done it.
That's the best part about this movie. It's not just Thunderdome. It's beyond Thunderdome.
Thunderdome, everybody. Of course, I'm Tim Geddes. I am joined by, it's Christmas in April, Joey Noel.
I'm back, baby.
The Nitro Rifle, Andy Cortez.
4 in reviewers enter.
3
and
leave?
We also leave.
Oh, yeah.
Who would have thought it came from here? I never knew that.
Who the hell would have thought, man? Insane. And then, of course, the producer / seducer, Nick Scarpino.
Hey, guys, how's it going? Have you heard that quote before? Is that a quote that you guys, that's
Thunderdome?
been floating around before? Yeah.
Yeah.
Two men enter, one man leaves?
That is like such pop culture shit that like I never would have thought it came from Mad Max.
Interesting.
Same.
Okay, cool.
I also didn't know that the Thunderdome was a Mad Max thing until we started this.
Me neither.
I think Thunderdome was a term prior to this.
I don't think it was.
Really?
I mean, based on the trivia that I was looking at, it's like this, it seemed at the very least popularized it, but
The Nug Dome as well.
yeah, you're right. You're
That's
right.
true.
Yeah.
That's
true.
very true.
That is very true. You know what else is true? This is In Review. Each and every week, we get together to rank, review, and recap different movie franchises. You can watch it, of course, on YouTube. You can also listen on podcast services, or you could go above and beyond and be a Kinda Funny member. That will get you the show ad-free. You could watch live as we record it, and you get a daily exclusive Greg Way. This shouldn't make me laugh as much as it does, Kev. At some point, if you could... raise the size of the font of the chats, that would be great.
Oh, God.
Because right now it
What is this? A learning center for
it might
ants?
be the smallest font I've ever seen in my life. But anyways, there are beautiful people watching live right now. I imagine Madeline Stanley's here, but I can't see. You know what I'm talking about? But anyways, you could be one of them. Mike L, of course, in the chat.
Yeah.
But shout out to our Patreon producers: James Hastings, Casey Andrew, Kieran Hovasapian, Carl Jacobs, Kashan Patel, Karen Lindner, and Nathan Lamoth. You are all the very, very best. Thank you for all of your support. We've been doing Mad Max in review. We did Mad Max 1. We did Mad Max 2, a.k.a. The Road Warrior. Now here we are doing Mad Max 3, Beyond Thunderdome. We're going to take a little bit of a break from the Mad Max universe once Furiosa comes out in a couple weeks. The week before that, we will do Fury Road leading into it. But the next 2 weeks, everybody, strap in. Because we got a kind of a keep, I don't even know what I'm saying here, but like, just stay on your toes because things might change. Definitely.
I have no idea what Tim's talking
Here's what's
about.
happening. 2 weeks from now,
Yeah.
we are doing the Planet of the Apes, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
That
They
will
were
be
roaming
joining
around the city yesterday.
They were in San Francisco, the apes themselves. But we will be doing Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes in review as part of our Planet of the Apes now quadrilogy in review. But next week, we will be doing Mark Wahlberg's the year 2000 Planet of the Apes reboot movie. Unless Godzilla -1 is actually streaming in America.
Yes, I
right now,
love
it's up in
this.
the air. It's up in the air because
Okay.
it's starting to stream next week in Japan. And there has not been official confirmation it's happening in America, and it does not seem likely. But if it does happen, we're going to be doing Godzilla -1 instead. If it doesn't, we're doing Planet of the Apes from the year 2000 with Mark Wahlberg. Either way,
It could very different ends.
Yeah. High highs and low lows is option.
We could give you a steak dinner, or you can eat from my asshole.
Wow. Which one? Wait, which one's the better one in that situation?
oh my God, Andy, have you seen Planet of the Apes?
Not the Mark Wahlberg. Like,
Yeah.
yes and no. It's played on cable a bunch when I was a kid. I remember many scenes of it. Honestly, I think I maybe watched half of it during my lunch break at Best Buy.
I love that. Have you seen it, Nick?
The Tim Burton Planet of the Apes?
Yeah.
A couple times, unfortunately.
I have not.
Yeah, I have not either. So
Not intentionally, at least.
we'll see how this goes, but just stay tuned. And yeah, it really comes down to, is Godzilla going to be streaming in America? If so, we're doing that. If not, we're doing Planet of the
Hey,
Apes.
I think those are some monkeys that are talking. Hey, what's going on? Have you guys been to Boston? Are we in Boston right now?
Is it the Statue of Liberty? What's going on?
Oh my God, is that the Liberty Bell? Are they shitting on the
hiding
Liberty
mouth
Bell?
on me.
Say hi to your mother for me. But today we're talking about Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome with a runtime of 1 hour and 47 minutes. It was released on July 10th, 1985. For some context there, number 2 was 1981 and number 1 was 1979. So a little couple year gap there. Directed once again by George Miller, but this time he was not alone. He brought his boy George Ogilvy as well. Beyond Thunderdome was the first Mad Max movie made without producer Byron Kennedy, who had been killed in a helicopter crash in 1983. Director George Miller was hesitant to continue without his producing partner, saying, I was reluctant to go ahead, and then there was a sort of need to, let's do something to just get over the shock and grief of all of that. There's a title card at the end of the film before the credits that reads, for Byron. Miller co-directed the film with George Ogilvy, with whom he had worked on the 1983 television miniseries The Dismissal. About this decision, he said, I had a lot on my plate. I asked my friend George Ogilvy, who was working on the miniseries, could you come and help me? But I don't remember the experience because I was doing it to just, I was grieving. And that's why this movie was made. So interesting. A lot of stuff there from Mr. Miller. And the music was done by Maurice Jarre, who replaced Brian May, who did the first 2 films. And the film also contains 2 songs performed by Tina Turner. One of The Living, which plays over the opening titles, and We Don't Need Another Hero, parentheses, Thunderdome, which plays over the end credits.
What's amazing about that is the first song, I was like, what a weird way to start this movie off. But by the end of it, after we see Tina Turner for that final moment where she doesn't kill him and she just laughs and kind of is like, whatever, it's all this a game. Yeah. And then the second song starts, I was like, I don't know this song either. And then the hook kicks in and I was like, oh no, I know this song. This song was huge in 1985.
I was
huge.
It
won a Grammy, right?
Yeah, dude. We're getting awards left and right for these things. These songs are doing very well.
Another hero. Come on, dude. It's powerful.
It's powerful, everybody.
I feel the power.
Earlier today, I was like copying my nose over from my phone to Slack. And I accidentally sent it to Tim. I was like, and it's just all in caps from when I watched it this morning. Like, what is with this opening song? Like, because I watched Mad Max 2 last night and then I watched Mad Max 3 this morning because I was gone last week. And I was like, man, talk about a jarring way to start to bridge the transition.
Remember, Joey, of course, in the 80s was a very experimental time for blockbuster cinema.
Yeah.
We wouldn't actually go on. This is a little known trivia fact. Andy, you probably know this because you're a musician. We wouldn't go on to perfect the song made specifically for the movie until Wild Wild West.
Oh, I was going to say Men in Black. But...
Well, Men in Black was tough. Give me the hook of Men in Black right now.
Dun, dun,
exactly.
dun,
See,
dun.
but you go Wild Wild West, Wild Wild
that
West.
Is Wild Wild West.
Banging through the Wild Wild West, right? Jim West. What is that, Andy?
Desperado.
And then we just stopped.
Just walk with me. Just walk with me. What happened to what about Seal's Kiss from a Rose?
That was good, but I feel like again. You want to talk about perfecting. What does Kiss from a Rose have anything to do with Batman? I guess Poison Ivy, right?
Andy makes a good point.
The original lyric was Batman. But they changed it for
No
radio.
one knows the words to this day. You know,
It's I looked it up one time, and it is a weird ass group of lyrics. It's like Kiss from a Rose on the Gray.
On
and
the
I'm
grave?
like, what the heck? Gray.
Oh, it's not
the
grave.
What does that mean? What does any of this mean? Yeah.
You don't know it until you know.
What about Footloose? Did we not perfect it with Footloose?
That's actually really a good point.
Yeah, but Footloose. Yeah, that's true. You know what? You're right. I can't even finish it. Footloose is amazing.
Hey, checkmate.
This one had a budget of $10 million, which is a lot more than the budget of the last movie, which was just shy of $3 million. And it went on to make the exact same amount as number 2 did, $36 million at the box office. So not as good of a return, but still not a failure. But $10 million to $36 million, nothing to shake your stick at.
I just hope they gave $5 million of that to Tina Turner.
Yeah.
I just hope they did.
Yeah.
I love her so much in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, if I were a studio exec, I'd be like, how much was Tina Turner's above the line salary in this? And they were like $7 million. I'd be like, out of a $10 million budget, money well spent.
Money well spent on those shoulder pads alone.
The shoulder pads, the wig that she's wearing is incredible.
I saw the Amazon DNA trivia or whatever, and it said that the suit weighed 112 pounds.
Because it was actual chainmail.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Insane.
It probably weighed more than her.
I know.
The wig wasn't fitting right. So she shaved her head so that it would. And she was like, fuck it, I don't care. I look awesome.
That's commitment.
Yeah.
Commitment for somebody who's not an actor.
I mean, this is how you commit though. You go big.
You just there's just
That's
moments
my
in your
auntie.
life as a creative, I have to imagine, like as an artist, is because you have to remember Tina Turner in the 80s was like, she's one of the icons of the 80s.
Yeah.
You're talking maybe top 10, maybe top 5 artists of like, as far as pop culture awareness. Tina Turner's up there at this point, right? You have to imagine that she took one look at like the character design and was like, I'm all in.
Yeah.
This is going to be wild. But also, what do you got to lose? She's not an actor. She's a multi-platinum, multi-Grammy award-winning singer who is always going to be remembered as one of the best there ever was. So like, I'd be like, put me in the freaking wild, blonde wig and let's go. Put me in some
just
Django.
go.
Let's rock this.
Let's ride.
So wait, so is this legitimately the only she never did acting before this, or
She has some credits, but this is definitely her biggest. She doesn't have very many. I looked.
This was the first time I remember thinking. I mean, granted, I was 5 when I saw this, and I think this was I think this movie was one of the movies that like I saw first in the Mad Max
Tina
series.
Turner was born in 1939.
Mhm.
I don't know why that sounds made up to me. No one was born before 1940.
That doesn't exist.
that's kind of crazy. Yeah,
And she just
wow.
passed away recently. I think.
Yeah,
right? Was it
2023.
Last
years
couple
ago?
years.
Yeah, cancer, unfortunately. Yeah, Tina Turner was one of the first times I remember thinking like this breaks my brain. I never thought a musician could then like go do a movie like this. And so it was wild that it was like Mad Max starring Tina Turner. I was like, I don't understand this. It broke my young ass brain.
Do
watching
you-
this.
Go ahead.
Just looking at this, her IMDb, and it's kind of hard to look at. She has 61 credits, but like
It's all
They're
her.
probably
they're
all
music
music
videos.
videos.
Yeah. So like she made an appearance on a TV show, like just a one-off thing, a couple TV shows, but like it really doesn't look like she.
Her Wikipedia is a little easier to look at.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, I think Miller, and I don't know if you read this trivia or not, but wrote this role like specifically for her, right? He
Yeah.
was like, I want Auntie Entity, which is her name, which is wild,
So sick.
to be Tina Turner, and I think they pitched her on this. And the only sort of analog I have to that is another story that they told when doing the Bond series. Because if you don't remember, I've always talked about my top like 5 favorite Bond songs of all time, and in any given Sunday, the GoldenEye theme could be up there, right?
Yeah.
And I'll never forget the story you two told where they were like, we wanted to write this song and we wrote it specifically for Tina Turner. And Albert Broccoli was like, you guys are going to be great doing this. We're like, we don't want to do it. We want Tina Turner to do it. So like Bono and Edge were just like, we're going to write this song, but we went and they had to convince Tina Turner to
I
do the
love
GoldenEye
that.
theme. And she did it. It
So
was fucking
So
awesome.
so I'm looking at her wiki right now, and what I really, really appreciate is she was playing herself in many different TV shows or movies, which doesn't really count as acting. It's still cool, whatever.
Cameo.
More of a cameo, right? But like it seems like Mad Max was the first time like she had like a named character, Entity, in 1985. The first after her role in the movie Tommy in 1975, where she played a character called the Acid Queen.
That makes
Damn.
sense. Okay. Yeah. Have you ever
That's
seen
hard
Tommy?
as fuck.
No, what's
What
up
is
with
Tommy?
The Who's Tommy? It's a musical about a pinball wizard.
I did.
Huh.
Yes.
Yeah, it's based.
She's
It's all
nuts.
Who music, and the lead singer, Daltrey. I want to say Robert Daltrey is the lead in it. He
Wow.
plays Tommy.
Yeah, you're right.
You
Roger
said The
Daltrey.
Who?
Roger.
The Who.
Oh shit. Okay.
Let's not start
I
at
have
on
a-
first moment right now. Okay.
We don't go down a tiny tangent since you have Wikipedia open.
Of course.
Is what year did Labyrinth come out? Because that must have been around here too. Because the Bowie and Labyrinth to me feels similar to
That was
Tina
another one that
Turner
tripped
in
me out.
this.
Yeah, that was
That was
another one that tripped me out.
86. Okay, so the year
You
after.
remind me of the baby with the power.
Yeah,
The power of
because I feel
voodoo.
like he doesn't really.
I love Labyrinth.
He didn't really do a lot of TV
Bowie
then, or
didn't,
movies then.
I don't think so. I think Labyrinth. Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's exact. From what I remember, there's that kind of rip, right? Where Bowie would show up in things, but like Bowie, obviously, recently the only thing I could think of him from was when he was in Extras, and he was. Have you guys seen that with Ricky Gervais?
No, I haven't actually.
It's just a moment where they're at a cocktail party. He's like, "Oh, you're that guy from the show," and then he just starts making up a song on the spot about how terrible he is. It's so funny. It's
It's
really
in the street, everybody. Some trivia for you here. There's some weird shit in this movie, y'all. I don't know if you noticed. But one of the weirder elements to me, maybe like one of the most weird things that we've talked about in an interview ever. Bruce Spence as Jedediah, the marauding pilot of a small plane who trades stolen goods in Bartertown. We remember him,
He's the
correct?
gyro captain. Yeah.
As the gyro captain in
Yeah.
Mad Max 2. But they're not the same character.
No.
They're not?
No.
I figured that.
So they asked him about it, like, yo, what's going on? He's like, well, they were well into the shoot when they offered me a part described as not the gyro captain, but kind of like the gyro captain. They said there's a kind of reflection of him and that they're having difficulty casting the role. So they thought to themselves, why not Bruce?
That's wild.
Why not make it the same character?
What the actual fuck?
Well, because they're obviously slaves to the canon, and in the canon, they're like he went up to the town of the north and became the captain
Exactly.
or the leader of that town. So he's supposed to be done. What's crazy to me is they're like,
That's wild.
what's crazy to me though is that he has a little kid who's a little blonde kid who looks like he had the kid with the blonde girl from Road Warrior.
Yeah.
So that's just like, why are you messing with me, George Miller?
It's really
What's
weird,
happening?
but it does feed into what we were talking about last week, where it's kind of like I forgot where I read this, but the idea that the Mad Max movies are all like folk tales and like it's like a lore that's expanding, where it's like it's not all quite right, which this fits into that in a pretty cool way.
It's pretty cool.
It's just weird.
Yeah, but it works.
But
it is weird.
I don't think it works. Like the whole time I'm just like, maybe they don't remember each other. Maybe they do get like obviously recognize each other, but maybe they're not playing into it enough, and that's kind of a weird missed opportunity. Like I thought there was going to be a big reunion when they're in the sort of barter town and be like, oh shit, you're the guy I stole from, my bad, dog. Like, holy shit, let's get out of here. Like, I thought we were gonna have that situation going on. I was kind of bummed out about it because I really I wanted to see that relationship grow. I thought that could have been a cool opportunity.
Yeah, definitely weird. And then the sandstorm at the end of the film was real, and a camera plane flew into it for some shots. The storm in its entirety hit the crew in the desert, forcing them to ride it out in their cars and wherever they could find cover.
That's crazy.
Dang.
These fucking movies sound crazy to make, man.
Australia's just built different.
Wild. And then the film was originally not a Mad Max film, but a post-apocalyptic Lord of the Flies film about a tribe of children who are found by an adult. It became the third Mad Max film when George Miller suggested that Max should be the guy that finds the kids.
Which is kind of awesome when you think about it, though, because obviously, like, this is sort of his redemption arc, right? You have that full circle, first act, second act, third act, and this is the time where he's like, oh, hey, he's found a purpose, which is bringing this kid that he lost, and then he finds a whole village of kids. It's kind of poignant, kind of interesting.
Yeah, really, really interesting. I want to start with you, Nick. What did you think about Beyond Thunderdome?
It's interesting. I haven't watched this movie. I'm thinking now in years because I remember it being a lot less Pirates of the Caribbean than it is. I forgot. I don't think I ever knew that this movie was PG-13, which is crazy because it's violent, but it's not over the top hyper violent, and it has a different vibe to it, a more adventurous vibe, a more sort of like piratey sort of.
Reminds me a lot of Hook.
Hook is a great example of it. I was going to say Cutthroat Island, just because that's a reference that no one will ever get. But I liked this movie a lot, and I found it very, very enjoyable. I think the stakes are slightly lower because I think you don't quite tip over into the everyone's in danger, anyone can be cannibalistic or horrible to each other. I think they backed it off a little bit on this one, specifically because I think there's so many children in it.
Counterpoint, quicksand.
Quicksand. And you want to ask where that shit came from.
Big moment.
This
for
is
Nick right
one of those moments where you go, close your eyes, Nick. The scene will be over soon. If it had
It's
lasers in this,
always
it'd be the
with
worst
the
thing
horse.
ever. It's true. A poor horse. But I really enjoy this, and I think I love the production design of it, specifically in the beginning of it. I like when he's going into the towns with Bartertown, and you see those like everything looks grimy and sweaty. But right off the rip, we have a little bit more comedy in this. We have the bit with him taking all the guns, which is a little more slapsticky than it was before. And I think it's just a slightly different direction for it. One thing I think we talked about was I always thought the kids part dragged, but now that I'm older watching this, I think that part is the more interesting aspect to me. The way they speak, how they're, I'm picking up now as I'm looking at it on all of their sort of mannerisms and their way of talking about like Delta X-ray, because they have these old recordings, but they don't know what they are. So they think maybe they're a way to communicate with the outside world, but they don't really have context for that. All that stuff is really, really cool and actually really surprisingly well thought out and poignant. When we get to the sort of end, the payoffs of that stuff where the kid's trying to do the record and Max shows him, it's that one little bit of like, that's his full circle moment where he takes part and he just shows him how to use the record and they start learning French. Those little things are great. I will say the one criticism is I just don't think the carnage is as good in this, but because we don't have the sort of hallmark of the series, which is the car chasing and all that and the car battling until the very, very end. But what we lack in that, holy crap, we make up for with Thunderdome. That
Nothing to
scene,
say with Tina Turner.
well, Tina Turner's fantastic in this, and I've already talked to nausea. But I think the Thunderdome moment is one of the coolest, most well-directed moments out of the entire series. Where we've got Dr. Dealgood, and he's just hamming it up, chewing up scenery in there. Has all the one line, all the one bangers, and then of course says the 2 minutes or one man leave. I love that part. I just wish we had more. I always thought watching this movie like, aren't we going to end in Thunderdome?
That's what I thought
But
too.
no, we don't. We end down the road because we got to have a road
We got
chase.
it.
We
We
got to
got
have
it.
a car chase.
Yeah, going on where you're talking about like Thunderdome being an amazing sequence, and it definitely was. I was reading trivia of them just being like, we've seen so many movies before, like shoot fight scenes, shoot karate scenes, shoot kung fu scenes, shoot all this stuff. He's like, we knew we were doing something different that had never been done before with this, and they're like, we wanted to put our all into the Thunderdome fight, and I feel like it really shows. Like that was a pretty fantastic sequence.
It's so creative too, right? You think when you start kind of picking it apart, you're like, why are they on bungee cords? And then you realize, oh, it's because they've hidden higher level weapons up into the dome of Thunderdome. So you've got chainsaws, hammers, all sorts of things up there. What a bonkers, absolutely insane thing to put two human beings through. Absolutely
cool.
terrifying, but super cool.
Joey Noel, what do you think of Beyond Thunderdome?
I had a great time. I think that this movie sucked me in. I'm a sucker for camp, and this movie is so much campier than anything else we've seen in this series so far. Tina Turner is so charming and like deranged. I don't know. She is so fun to watch do this, which is why it's so surprising that she's never acted before, because like she feels so natural in it. I had no idea that there was children so prominently displayed in this movie. And I do agree with Nick that I think that's why coming out of Mad Max 2, that was like way more brutal than I thought it was going to be. And this kind of was like a little bit of a palate cleanser for that. And then my biggest takeaway is that I'm just so glad that there are woodwind instruments so prominently.
They just love their sax,
used.
man.
No other instrument
In the
made it through the apocalypse
post-apocalyptic world.
except for the alto saxophone.
So good.
Wow.
It just made me I think that is like the part that made me laugh so hard. I'm like, of course this is it. Like I had a great time. This to me connects the Mad Max 1 and 2 to what I've seen of Fury Road. I'm like, oh, this feels way more cohesive, because even after finishing 2, I'm like, how do we get to Fury Road? Like this feels so disjointed, but now this makes more sense. The Thunderdome is crazy. I definitely thought this was going to be at the end. I didn't expect to get it as early as we did. And just, I would watch an entire series of just those kinds of things. Like give me a little spinoff of just the Thunderdome.
Andy, what'd you think?
Yes.
Master Blaster, man.
Master Blaster,
Incredible.
This movie's so fucking bonkers. When we get past the Thunderdome, we get beyond it in the first, 12 minutes. It felt like everything with the kids section felt like an episode of Star Trek where they're just off on a random adventure, and I don't think I loved a lot of those moments, but I ultimately love where it led up to it. It kind of felt like, hey, we're doing a special 3-part episode run of like a Star Trek thing over the weekend. I keep saying Star Trek. I just feel like they go on like, you have the random adventures per week or whatever. And this felt like almost like a mini series that was meant to be a lot like, if you join them all up, it's a big movie. And a lot of those moments with the kids felt like so out of nowhere, and it makes so much sense that wasn't even meant to be a Mad Max movie, because it just feels so out of left field. But I do kind of enjoy the lore bits of the record player, like Nick was mentioning, of these kids. I don't know how these kids are alive. I don't know what the fuck they do to survive. But by the end of it, I really enjoyed the action sequences. I laughed a lot in the Thunderdome sequence, because I just imagine Max going in there and being like, all right, I got this whistle, let's pop off, and seeing the bungee cords being like, what are we doing? And then like suddenly just like floating and just be like, oh fucking shit. Like it's so out of nowhere. But I think it was cool as shit. I don't know if I would have cut off Blaster's fucking bungee cords or mine. Like I feel like he cut off his, but you're still not like super in control. I feel like I would have cut mine off to be like, I'm on the ground, I understand what I'm doing down here, I've lived down here my whole life,
Yeah.
So that was like one sort of weird call, because he cut off, but you see how Max immediately gets the hang of it and starts like vaulting himself across. I thought all the practical stunts in the final chase sequence were fantastic. The dude hanging on the pole, that dude just would not die. Like I thought he would have been dead within the first 10 minutes. A lot of resiliency from that dude. But yeah, there was just like so much practicality in a lot of those stunts. I guess the one stunt that they couldn't show was the fake pilot guy who wasn't the real pilot guy from the last time jumping from the plane onto the car.
Yeah, that was
like
a tough
real
one.
easy.
How'd we get in there?
Real quick little sit down, but there was so many awesome moments stunt wise at the end of it that I just really, really enjoyed. I see Greg handed.
I'm sorry, I'm getting handed a package right now, a little instant message here from our team here. It says, "Dear Mr. Scarpino, we regret to inform you that Tim sucks. Sincerely, the U.S. Treasury Department, Washington, D.C., Earth." Okay, important that we noted what planet
Treasury
we were
Department.
because you know that Mars has a Treasury Department as well.
Yeah.
I didn't expect
we
me
need-
to be the target of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Me too.
No,
What
it's
did
interesting.
you do something to the Treasury Department?
we don't
Have you
talk
filed?
about
Yeah.
that. You know what I
Okay.
mean,
Yeah.
Joey?
Okay.
You were cool about that, but
Yeah, other than that, I just I had a good time with the kind of craziness. I was very surprised by Tina Turner being as like, you know, good as she was. I was kind of very I was questioning like, what is she? I don't know if she's acted before, but I'm excited to see, and I thought she kind of just ate up the scenery. I had a good time with it. I don't think it's like very good in a lot of ways. I think it just does a lot of like I think it makes a lot of wild choices, especially with this pilot thing. That like makes the movie way worse to me. Like you gotta wonder if George Miller's friend hadn't passed away, what this movie would have been. You know, I just feel like there's a lot of choices that were made under grief that maybe just sidetracked some things. But yeah, I had a good time with it, and I don't know if I'm going to put it over part one quite yet.
Interesting.
Tim, how about you?
Interesting. I fucking loved this movie. And it's so weird because going in, I guess I didn't know what to expect from any of these movies because all three times I've been surprised in ways I just was not ready for. I don't know. To this moment, I don't actually know what the common consensus is on Beyond Thunderdome because for some reason I had just grown up assuming that this one was bad, that this one was like not in the same realm as the other ones, and that this was kind of like one of those like, you know, like, ooh, well, we don't talk about Mad Max 3 type sequels.
That's so interesting. I feel like I've only heard about this one in a good way.
Andy?
I'm with you, Tim. Like I feel like I've heard more negative about this one because it kind of does feel, and it may be it may be the PG-13 rating, it may be not going for the brutal violence, and maybe Mad Max fans are like, what the fuck? Why, you know, you're throwing a bunch of Ewoks into our Star Wars movie and making it all kid friendly and stuff. So I could see some of the negativity because even reading chat when we were leading up to Thunderdome in the past couple of interviews and seeing people being like, oof, they're in for a weird kind of like experience with Beyond Thunderdome. And I'm with you there.
It was weird in a way I didn't expect. Like I thought it was going to be like the Rocky 5. Like I thought it was just going to be like, oh, like one of those a Spider-Man 3 type situation.
Happy birthday, Polly.
That's Rocky 4, dude.
Oh shit. Weird choice there too.
But this, I mean, and I guess it makes a lot of sense being me for here. Of course I love this movie. This is the most Hollywood of them so far. This feels like a movie compared to the other two that feel like art projects. And I just appreciate it, man. It is an 80s action adventure through and through. So many things from this movie, not just Thunderdome, but just so many ideas and just shots and just framings of things. I'm like, I have seen this in so many things that I like, and I need to give George Miller so much more credit than I've ever given him because it sounds like he's just started so many of these iconic ideas and concepts that some of my favorite things use. And like, I love Hook. You know what I mean? I love Return of the Jedi. So when we get to this island of kids and they're talking all funny and shit, I'm like, oh, I'm so here for this. Like, this could go bad, or they could pull it off. And I think that they pulled it off for the most part. Some things are a little bit weird, like some of the action, like the more melee based fights, I don't think work as well as the action in the last two movies. But the build up, I mean, first off, Thunderdome is amazing. One of my favorite things about the movie so far. But it got to a point that, I mean, the whole movie, I'm bummed he doesn't have his car. You know what I mean? R.I.P. to that thing. Died in number 2. I thought he might get something back in this one. He didn't. He just got a super dope cloak instead. But I appreciated Max's character in this. And as I'm watching the movie and Tina Turner's there and Master Blaster's there and this dude with the head on top of his head's there. And I'm just like, I fucking love that this movie being the second sequel, they're just like, fuck it, go for it. The audience understands what they want from a Mad Max movie. It is people with weird ass names they have one idea, and that's what that character is.
Mm-hmm.
They're all about that thing, and then some weird element. Oh, there's this barter town. What do they do there? They barter, but there's also a Thunderdome, and guess what? They have power, but it's ran by this dude. What's he use? Pig shit. I'm like, this is just yes, I love it.
It felt like another live action Ghibli movie to me,
dude.
Like
absolutely.
I could see just so many of these story moments like being animated in a Hayao Miyazaki film.
It's funny because you think that I thought the same thing because it reminds me of the faces in Spirited Away.
Yeah.
Look like the face of the mask that Iron Bar has on the top of his head. I'm right there with you. I think it's interesting because I think this movie, I think they managed to find something different in this movie. Largely like, hey, we've seen what a lack of civilization looks like. Now they're starting to rebuild and you're starting to see these towns that have come together. What would that be? Oh, it would be crazy. It would be pandemonium. They'd have to have some sort of martial law. What would that be? Well, what if we, brainstorming, made a massive jungle gym called Thunderdome, and that's how people sort through their problems? It's kind of crazy to think about, but like Tina Turner's character, I think is like more complex watching it than I originally had thought.
Absolutely.
Right? She has this town. She's trying to keep law and order. She's trying to bring some level of civility back to humanity, but she doesn't have the scientific knowledge of how to turn pig shit into methane to do it. So that ends up being a power struggle, and then she needs to go all cloak and dagger on it. Why she couldn't just kill him herself is beyond me. I guess it would up the town with it, but what the hell would
I mean, I love like these arbitrary laws of no, it has to be a fair fight. You can't just like stab him, when he's not looking at this.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go about things the right way. I love that there's still like that law element to it.
I am a little confused as to how the gulag, which is generally a prison that you would send someone to, is being abolished, just
That's
being
the
banished.
desert.
The
desert's
gulag's just the
prison.
desert.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's quicksand.
That desert was pretty fucked up, man.
That's pretty messed
Some of the
up.
shots seeing Max out there, I was like, oh, there's no way he's going to survive unless some small child comes and saves him. You know?
Yeah, but you're always look at never ever discount the power of having a little pet monkey.
It's
I've
true.
said it for
Dude,
years.
this movie
We gotta
started
have
with
a pet
an
monkey.
80s song and this monkey that just throughout the movie was just there the whole time. And I fucking loved it. But like, just
It could have not been there though. Like I forgot there was a monkey in the movie.
But
And,
anytime
like,
I forgot, then they reminded
brought
me.
it back.
So
The monkey, it's true now that I say that, the monkey did not need to be in this movie.
No,
it literally
the
could have
monkey-
just
But
been
the
a
fact
kid
that it
setting.
is makes it even funnier.
Well, I think the only reason it was there was to let I think the guy's name was Pig Killer, have that character have some sort of like purpose in being there because it didn't really need to be there anyway. But anyway, it's weird.
yeah, but for me, loved the movie. Was so surprised the entire way through, and I just feel like it was, even though it was longer, I feel like it moved faster than the other one does. Again, this feels a bit more like an 80s movie, but so much goes on and so much wild shit happens that I forgot about the car chases. So by the time we get to one, I was sitting there like, George Miller, thank you. Thank you, because this is awesome. I was just so in this world that I forgot what these movies are. And then they deliver, man. It was such an exhilarating scene. It was so freaking cool. This to me, it like Kevin and I were talking about it. It's like this very much is what you do with the third in the trilogy. This is we had the first movie. We made the second one that's like legitimately good. Let's just have fun with the world in number 3. And they had a lot of fun, man. And so did I.
Sure did. It sure did.
They sure did. And we're going to talk all about that fun as we get to the plot right after a word from our sponsors.
Kinda Funny turns 9 years old today. We could have made it 9 days without your support. That's why 2024 is all about doubling down on our shows and making it simpler than ever for you to get the most out of our content. Our revamped Kinda Funny membership is your one-stop shop for all our amazing content, which now includes on a weekly basis the Kinda Funny podcast, In Review, the Kinda Funny Games Cast, P.S. I Love You XOXO, the Kinda Funny X-Cast, the brand new series Kinda Funny Game Showdown. 5 episodes of Kinda Funny Games Daily, and 5 exclusive Gregway vlogs.
And 5 days of streaming fun with me and the gang here in our newly revamped streaming space. It's going to be filled with a ton of laughter and a whole lot of shenanigans. We'll see you there.
That's more than 20 pieces of content a week from an 11-person independent team in San Francisco. That's a lot. And to get the most out of it, all we're asking for is $10. $10 gets you the Kinda Funny membership, and that entitles you to ad-free versions of the shows, the ability to watch the podcast live as we record them, and the exclusive access to my daily show, Greg Way. You can get your Kinda Funny membership on patreon.com/kindafunny or youtube.com/kindafunnygames. Yes! We are expanding our Kinda Funny membership offering to YouTube so people can take full advantage of the platform they prefer. If you want to go above and beyond the Kinda Funny membership to support us, we will still have higher Patreon tiers, albeit with some changed up perks. We just wanted to make the message as clear as possible that the $10 Kinda Funny membership is for the masses to get all of the core content people love. Everything above that is very appreciated. The support means the world to us. You all are the best. But the $10 Kinda Funny membership available on both patreon.com/kindafunny and youtube.com/kindafunnygames is where we see the value of what we do. Kinda Funny is a dream come true, and we wouldn't have it without you. We hope if you've ever enjoyed the content, you can support us for at least a month as we prepare for our biggest year ever. Until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.
We got Tim and Joey. We got Nick and Andy. Now it's time to hear the plot for Beyond Thunderdome. Thunderdome.
Now, when men get to fighting, it happens here, and it finishes here. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves.
God damn, dude. When they start chanting it, when they have everybody, 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. Yes, dude. This movie's awesome.
Unreal. Ladies and gentlemen, in case you were worried, in case you didn't know when this movie was made, welcome to 1985.
Oh, yeah.
Smack dab in the middle of the 80s.
Yeah.
We're going to start every movie and end every movie with whoever we paid to do the soundtrack for the song. This one's Tina Turner. The song is weird as shit. What a weird, bad way. I'll just say bad way to start the movie, but good way to set the tone for the movie. We catch up with Jedediah, the gyro captain, not really, who has a son, Jed Jr., just like George W. Bush, as they assault a caravan and leave the driver in the middle of the desert. Spoilers! That driver is Mad Max. Of course, he's got I love the setup for this because he's just got a wagon that's led by camels, and he's going to Bartertown because he's going to trade those camels for resources and supplies.
Also, this shot with the plane.
Yeah.
From the opening shot. George Miller, man, just having way too much fun.
It's too much fun. Too much money, too much fun. He finds a whistle amongst some of his gear that's been left behind, including a boot that's a mismatched boot with him. I think he'll have that boot on for the rest of the movie.
Nick.
What's up?
And what did we use the whistle for yesterday in our Pokemon playthrough?
Oh, of course, we used the whistle to wake up the Snorlax.
Wow,
Which
good
we
job.
had to, which we almost lost to. We weren't ready for the Snorlax. Then we tried to capture the other Snorlax, and we got him down to a sliver, and he just wouldn't go on that ball. So we had to put him down for the keep. Down for the count.
Dang.
Unfortunately.
Gotta put him down.
He's still dead.
Also,
up
if
there,
you're
rotting.
gonna go get Fly, spoilers, this is a pro strat for anyone who's wanting to play Pokemon Fire Red. If you're gonna go get Fly, make sure you have a water type, because there are 2 fire types up there that will kill Andy Pandy. They will kill your Diglett. One tap him.
These fucking words.
It was traumatic. I want to talk to you a little bit about hair.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson's hair in all of these movies is just some level of epic every single time. And in this one, it's amazing, right? He's got this.
Is it a wig?
There you go.
I don't know. Wigging out with Scarpino.
Hey everyone, welcome to the acoustic version of Wigging Out with Scarpino, starring Nick Scarpino. This wig is god awful. His hair in the beginning of this is god awful, but it's worth it because then we get the evolution of old man Mad Max later down the road when the kids cut his hair and he's still got the silver streaks in it.
Sick.
But he looks badass.
I mean, I didn't notice his hair because he just had this glorious cloak situation standing there in the opening of this movie. I'm like, this is awesome, man.
Well, he's
Further reinforcing Kevin's point of bringing cloaks into like just modern living. Everybody
really
should have a cloak. The wig, the hair reminded me so much of Robin Williams in Jumanji. Just like kind of ratty, kind of crazy out there. You bring it up the kids. I just get like, I can't imagine Mad Max being in this movie and being like, I'm 42 years old. Like, 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 was I frozen in carbonite for a century and then woke up to these children who have no family and are hearing legends of this like Captain Walker? Like, this just happened about 10 years ago. Like, it's just so weird. Like, you'd expect Mad Max by this point to be 88 years old with all the passing of time that's happened, but it's just so bizarre. It's so bizarre.
It is bizarre, but then I think it goes nicely into sort of the fairy tale nature of this, right? Sort of that legendary mythos of who he is. Because you can see that, like, you feel like all of these movies are stories that are being retold to other people.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like the time's sort of weird and we're
Because
getting
it doesn't
wrong.
add up. Andy's
No.
right.
Well, doesn't it add up? I don't know.
No, I mean, some of these kids.
It's only been 15 years, right?
But it seems like even like the older, like the main girl that like saves him and stuff, like she's what, like 15?
16?
But she's like, I think if you read the lore, and I could be wrong about this, but I think she's the mom to one of the other kids.
Yeah.
So I think the
she's
kids
the mom to
not
one of the kids
knowing
that gets quicksanded.
But I think what happened was, because I think this is what, 15 years after the first movie in like real time, or not real time, in universe.
I
It's
think
like
Mel
10 or
Gibson is
15
just
years.
meant to be a lot older than he is in this movie, and maybe that's why they add a lot more grays
Well, they-
and stuff. But
Well,
like, yeah, everybody's acting like it's Horizon Zero Dawn, and generations and like we're talking like 6 generations have gone by with legends being told about this. It's so fast.
well,
It's
he's not
hilarious,
Captain
but-
Walker though.
No, I know, but the
No, I know
15-year-old
that.
girl seems like she doesn't understand English, and like she doesn't like. It seems like she's from a world that.
Well, she's not. She is. She was like, she got stuck in the apocalypse when she was like 2. All
Yeah.
these kids like crash in a plane, and then all the parents died off, and then they're just by themselves.
Yeah.
And they've been told this tale of this captain that was on this plane called Walker. They see the plane. We actually see the vistas of it. So they've been living by themselves, essentially like Lord of the Flies style, for 15 years, raising each other.
Yeah, but like it seems like I guess she would have a touchstone then if she was on the plane.
She would remember
But
cities.
if she's like 1 or
she would
2,
remember.
do you remember
Oh, I
anything
get-
at
yeah,
that
yeah.
age?
Well, that's
you're
the
right.
thing is that's why they get it wrong, right? They don't understand
Yeah.
what all these things are. That's why they don't understand what a record does. They think that was the pilot on the air going down saying the Delta X, whatever, we're going down. They remember cities kind of, but they have a myth. Like it's a vague memory of what this thing could be. That's why they're getting all the details wrong.
Hold on, I might be fucking things up here, but how are their kids younger than her if she was 1 or 2? On
Because
this
it's the
plane?
other kids' kids.
Yeah.
Because remember, we
just
see
be fucking-
one of the girls is pregnant because
Yeah.
the kids don't understand about birth control or sex, and so when they're like 12 or 13, they have sex and they get pregnant, and then
Yeah.
they've made more smaller kids. So they're
She should be-
the
they
young.
should all be dead.
So like the
for
older
real.
kids are the parents to the younger kids, I think.
When you
in some
imagine that
regard.
the adults before they died also had kids
Potentially.
that are hanging out.
I mean, again, it doesn't 100% add up 1-to-1, but if you follow the timeline of Mad Max happening, the first one happening as the civilization's going down, and then this happens 15 years later, you can kind of see that these kids who are like 14, 15, 16 years old and who have had kids of their own, like maybe they've had time to do that. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
You know,
oh.
it's kind of it's a wild idea to think, but it is what it is. And I can look up the years on that. I think there's a piece of trivia on IMDb that talks to you about like what's the when does this happen? How many years it happens after the first movie? Doesn't matter. He heads to Bartertown, walks in, and this is our first sort of view of what civilization can potentially look like in the apocalypse. Spoilers: it's terrifying and it's dirty. And we have a guy named the Collector who's awesome. This first guy who's like, hey, if you want to come into Bartertown, you got to leave all your guns here. And then Mad Max goes, cool, but then he pulls a gun on that guy. And goes, oh, this guy could be useful right now. We got a job for him. Of course, they make him empty all his guns except for this weird like riding crop that he has that he just for whatever reason puts in his teeth. Granted, I'd be like, maybe we leave that too. Maybe that's a weapon. We should check that out. Or I would be a little bit more worried about the guy that has a head hanging off his head.
Yeah.
I don't know. Amazing.
The Collector reminds me of Simon Pegg's a CG character in Force Awakens.
It's exactly like
Yeah.
that.
You're right. I forget his name.
Let's
No
see.
one remembers.
As he walks into town, we get introduced to Dr. Dealgood, who is selling his camels, and he's pissed off about that.
He's the one that can't feel good.
Amazing, right? Then they take him to see Auntie, who is in her sky palace that has an elevator. But we don't see Auntie first, Joey. We don't feel Auntie first.
No.
We hear Auntie
Yeah.
first, right? Because Auntie, among other things, obviously, loves 3 things, Tim.
Mhm.
1, post-apocalyptic fashions.
Yes.
Oh, killing the game.
Killing the game on that. Very fashion forward. 2, she loves leading other humans to some level of civilization. And 3, and boy howdy, probably chief among them, she loves the sultry sounds
A
of the
little
alto
sexy
saxophone.
sax, baby.
Tauntaun Tattoo is the name of
Yes,
this
it
character.
is. Uh-huh. Yep.
And he's maybe blind, I think. He looks like he has cataracts in his eyes,
Seemingly,
some sort of
yeah.
blind. And they just make him sit in the traditional sort of Japanese bathing outfit and shirtless, just playing the saxophone all day long. Do you think he likes it? Probably doesn't have a choice.
It's very weird. It's very weird.
You either play the saxophone for me, Andy, or I throw you off Sky Palace.
I understood. Play me something solemn. Play me something sad. I love that.
I feel like it maybe is probably one of the better jobs / roles
You're
you
right.
could have in
He's
this
clean.
society. I'd rather be with up there playing the sax than maybe down with the pigs. Not really down
you
for
have two
that.
choices: shovel pig shit, or hang out with Tina Turner at the height of her, just a prime Tina Turner.
Yeah.
Play the saxophone for her whenever she wants. I'm kind of into it.
I did appreciate the when they were going in, the guy's like trying to give him water, and he like does like a radiation check on it, and it was just
that's
a
very
little
cool.
radiation. I'm like, oh, this is sick, man.
Nothing wrong with a little
Yes.
fallout.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
I was gonna say it's wild to watch this movie now, and then I watched right after. Well, I watched it yesterday, and then 2 days ago, and then yesterday I watched the first episode of the Fallout series on Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, wow, we're just in this now.
We're just in it, man.
Everything
Yeah.
goes into trends. Of course, he goes up there, and this is a test, right? All of the people attack him, and he beats the shit out of all of them using his little riding crop that turns into a knife. He was able to. He throws iron bar off the thing. You think he's dead, but he's not. He holds back on. It's a little foreshadowing for later in the movie. And Tina Turner's like, whoa, 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 Raggedy Man. I think she says, she says, who's this bunny? I think is what she calls him first. But he's a Raggedy Man. He is quick. Tina Turner is fucking everything in this movie.
Oh yeah, dude.
Everything she does in this, you're like, does she care about any of this? Is she just having fun? Is
She's
she
just
just
having
toying
the
with her
most fun.
food? She springs the trap on him. All that. Anyway,
Cool. I like that you're like you can be referencing the character and Tina Turner as well there.
Yes. So here's the deal. I want you for a job. You get the job, I'll give you all your stuff back, and then some will give you some fuel and all this stuff. Here are the terms. I need you to kill a man, but number 1, no one can know it's my doing. 2, you hit him and you go. And 3, it's to the death. And then Mel Gibson says, who's the bunny? Cool. Turns
It
out
is
the
cool.
bunny is Master Blaster.
Master Blaster runs Bartertown. Okay, Nick?
And he runs it with pig
And
shit.
we gotta take care of Master, because together they're strong. What the fuck, you guys? This is one of
Such
the coolest
video game
phrases-
shit.
Like, we were talking about the Kojima stuff last week. They just went full in here. Like, these bad guys are hilarious.
Yes. So for audio listeners who have never watched this movie before, Master Blaster is there's 2 actors. One is a little person, and he rides on top of a big giant of a man who is a blaster, and Master is the one who knows everything about methane gas, turning methane gas into power. He powers Bartertown, but he does that from his underground lair, and we know that because Tina Turner has had a periscope installed that can look out at him, that he will just occasionally throw pig shit out. So the power dynamic here is very, very interesting and it's cool. We're like, oh, there's a little power struggle happening here, right? The pigs. Another fun, did you get that fun piece of trivia? That they needed like something like 1,000 or something like 600 pigs or something like that for the sequence, but it would have decimated the local pig population in farming, so they had to rent them. They couldn't buy them because it would have taken too many pigs out of the actual ecosystem for like the farming, so they just borrowed, they like rented them from some farmers.
Bartertown.
Great.
There we go.
So he's like, you know what? I'll do it. I'll take the lift.
So cool.
He goes down there and tries to barter it with Master Blaster himself, tries to talk to him, and Master Blaster's like, who runs Bartertown? And he goes, you know what? Embargo. And I immediately think to all those times we broke embargoes at IGN.
Yeah.
So I immediately get triggered by this because I was like,
I
that
didn't
is-
understand what that meant. I'm still kind of confused by the sequence.
An embargo is when you place a restriction on a natural resource. Like if you were doing a fuel embargo or you're embargoing something for another country, you're saying, hey, we're going to cut off the pipeline of natural gas. We're embargoing that, or we're limiting you in some fashion. So he was flexing
good
basically
stuff.
an official ban on trade or other commercial activity with a particular country. So he's saying basically, I'm going to stop the flow of methane gas to the surface level, to Bartertown.
Quit farting around.
Quit fucking around. Now, one thing I would have liked to have seen, because we don't really get a sense of, because Bartertown looks like it's pretty analog.
Yeah.
We don't really see the electricity in it. We don't really see like an elevator, but it's largely crank. I'm like, I don't really understand what methane gas is really powering in this town. Maybe lights? I don't know. But you get a sense that it's important. And so he flexes his muscle and he makes
Definitely
Tina Turner.
lights. Like
Guess
we
so.
see the lights at the end, when the kid's kind of like, oh, look at that.
So of course, when he goes down there, we also meet,
If it is lights, I feel like the movie at this point, it's all like pretty dark. Like they're not using a lot
I
of the
just
lights.
think they're not.
So I guess it's like a finite resource, so maybe you're trying to like conserve. But maybe that's also just a note about the movie that feels very dark.
Perhaps. From here, we meet the pig killer, who was a prisoner downstairs. He wants to get out, but he also doesn't want to make a stir. Max, at this point, or actually rather, Tina Turner at this point, Auntie has to admit to everyone that Master Blaster runs Bartertown,
over the PA system.
and she's just like, "Man, I'm gonna kill this guy."
Yeah.
Max comes back and he's like, "Look, I'll take the deal. I'll do this thing." And she's like, "Cool. All you have to do is start a fight." He's like, "How do I do this?" "All you gotta do is start a fight." Of course, that night he starts a fight. He picks a fight with Master Blaster, and Master Blaster takes the bait and says, "You know what? We're gonna take this to the one and only place where we can exercise the law, Thunderdome."
When they said that, I was like, "Oh fuck, we are getting into it." Because yeah, like we've said, everyone
and then
just
I thought
expected
that was going to be the whole movie. I thought like, wow, this plan's going to take a while to kind of develop. Like, well, I mean, even before we have to go to the Thunderdome, I thought there's a person I want you to kill, and I was like, oh, okay, here we go. This is kind of this is very, very exciting, and then concluded pretty quick, a lot quicker than I would have liked.
Yeah.
If I'm being real.
Yeah, and again, I think if you made this movie in modern times called Thunderdome, you're having your climactic sequence at least like end Thunderdome, right? You can have a race, you have all that stuff, but then the cars have to bash through Thunderdome, and your two characters that are fighting have to fight each other in Thunderdome now. But to George Miller, to you know, he just was like, I don't want to do that. I got end this with a car chase, and we'll end it with a fun little bittersweet moment. But we're not there yet. Of course, we get what I think is the iconic shot of Tina Turner in this movie. This is one I always think about. It's when you always see sort of when they do the trailers, where she's standing above them as they're in the streets, and she's just hella backlit, and she goes, "Thunderdome, it is," and it's
dude,
everything. Again, Tina Turner, put her in everything. Let's see. Oh, we start Thunderdome, and Auntie fucking zip lines in on her cool chair.
She zip lines in on her chair. Like, this movie just kept
Getty's ass
surprising me of like, whoa, this is so cool. And like this moment, I don't know that it's topped because like I don't think it's possible to top this. That was amazing.
I want to give a shout out again to Dr. Dealgood. This actor is absolutely incredible. I think he's been in other stuff before, but I can't pull one thing from him. I just know this sequence is shot so beautifully with the camera movements, and it's so vaudevillian and weird, and it really goes toward little hints of what we saw in the first movie or the second movie, where he's like the Ayatollah of rock and roll and all that stuff. These guys are unhinged, and they maybe don't understand the references anymore. But I wrote this monologue he has down now where he says, he tells everyone, fighting leads to killing, and killing gets to warring. And that was damn near the death of all of us. Now, when men get to fighting, it happens here, and it finishes here. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves.
Remember,
Thunderdome.
this is Thunderdome. Death is listening, and it takes the first person that screams.
Fucking sick.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
Oh,
Just everything.
Holy shit.
Everything. And then Max just gets his ass beat for a solid 5 minutes before he gets his hands on the whistle. Of course, we get all the shenanigans going back and forth. They both get cut down. Max gets a chainsaw. We get the campy gag with it running out of gas and him having to run more. Then he gets the mallet. The mallet gets taken away from him. He gets his ass beat with the mallet. Finally, he gets his hand on the whistle, grabs his mallet, and beats the stuffing out of Blaster, who goes down, and his helmet comes off, and it's revealed that he is mentally handicapped. He is like basically a grown child. He doesn't understand what he's doing, and Max, being a quasi good human being, is like, I can't kill this person. And of course, Master's back there being like, he doesn't get it. He doesn't know what's going on. Like, don't kill him. Please don't kill him. Max turns to Auntie and says this wasn't part of the deal, of course, revealing that she was behind all this. Blaster's like, what the hell's going on? At this point, you think like Blaster's probably going to be a prisoner anyway, but Auntie's pissed off and sees it as an opportunity to renege on her deal with Mad Max. And so she puts 3 arrows through Blaster's chest, killing him. They enslave Master, and then they take Max to the wheel.
This movie, woke as fuck. Got some diversity. We got a black woman as a lead.
Mm-hmm.
We have a Down syndrome person. We have a little person playing like the main guy, Master. And this is where it kind of gets really weird for me, because Master runs over to him, and like I felt really bad when he's like crying over him, and he's like, no, he's like that. He's just a kid or whatever. And I was like, man, this movie is not what I expected at all. But it is kind of cool for in that moment for me to be like, what do you mean deal? What the fuck you mean deal? What deal's going on? And then like shit, fucking pops off or whatever. It's really cool.
This I know we've already talked about it a little bit, but like really, this Thunderdome scene is very cool. Like,
it's very cool.
It could have just been two people in this like steel cage with the people, like the amount of shots of just human beings on it watching them.
Yeah.
All of that's cool, but on top of that, the bungee cords and the weapons, it's just, and all the monologues and stuff, like, and the zipline entrance, like, this is why I love WWE. Like, they just went so hard with it. The ring announcer, like, it's kind of unbelievable how hard and dope this was.
It goes super hard. Of course, they won't let him leave until Pig Killer's like 2 minute or 1 man leave. Everyone's like, hey, that's the rules. Them's the rules. But then, of course, Tina Turner proving why she's the boss reminds them of another rule. Right or wrong, we had a deal. And the law says, bust the deal, face the wheel.
Bust the deal,
face
so
the
cool.
wheel. Now, Tim,
Real quick, dude, I do want to say, like, lore-wise, there was something we missed way early on that's so inconsequential, but I just love the fact that when we're first entering Bartertown, we see a dude walking on stilts, because you got to have a dude with stilts to fix the lights up there in this Bartertown. Like, that's such a small little detail that did not need to happen, and it just makes that world feel like actually real in a lot of moments. Another thing I loved is, I saw the trivia that the only time the word Max is uttered is when he says "me Max," because he's like, me master or whatever. And I love that kind of part of the lore as well, where like you could tell Master just sort of started talking this way because he's been talking to Blaster for so long, and had to simplify the language down, and that's just kind of become part of the way he delivers dialogue. It's so cool. It's just really well thought out in moments like that.
Awesome.
Of course, we go to the wheel. He gets gulag. What gulag is hey, we're going to strap you to a donkey or a horse, which you would think like maybe we don't want to waste a horse on this, but natural, a pretty big resource. The horse has the water dangling in front of him, so he keeps walking forward. They tie him on backward, and they put a big old like carnival mask on him,
which was weird.
Oh, I love it. It reminds me of The Hard Target, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, where his name was Chance, and she goes, "Hey, why is your name Chance?" And he goes, "Because my mama took one."
Nick's been saying that so much during the Pokemon streams that it makes me laugh every time. It gets me every time. His mother took a chance, Joe, okay?
The way you said it.
Because my mama took one. Mind you, imagine me as Jean-Claude Van Damme in a bar in the bayou with just the world's best mullet you've ever. Look at this mullet he's got on him. God, incredible.
He's so flexible.
That's what he's known for.
That's awesome, though. But yeah, this seems interesting. The wheel, I just love. Another just detail that's so dope. If you look at it, like one of them says like Auntie's Choice, like Gulag. There's all this shit. I'm just like, God, this is cool as hell.
And this is why I want a Thunderdome show, because I want to see what else is on the wheel.
Well, apparently they had...
One was have Nick text for you, or have Nick tweet for you.
Ghost.
The possible outcomes in the wheel were acquittal, amputation, Auntie's Choice, death, forfeit goods, gulag, hard labor, life imprisonment, spin again, underworld.
Underworld.
You got to go shovel pig shit, which I imagine is still hard labor. I think that's all sort of like you're either going down there or you're going out to the desert. That's pretty much it, or we're killing you.
Mama took
there was I think there was a piece of trivia where George Miller did want to actually make this into a series, a TV series, but his lead actor I think was in a bad car accident and like couldn't act anymore, so it just killed him. It just killed the series idea for him. But he wanted to make this a TV series called Mad Max, and then of course later they'd just make more cool movies. Anyway,
I'm so excited for Fury Road. Like I really can't put words to like how stoked I am to see the movie for the first time in its completion, and also now with context of all this stuff. Like, because I remember, without going too far into this, I just remember enjoying the hell out of it, but it all just feeling so random. And I feel like now I'm like, it's not random. Like the black around the eyes from that one little kid.
Screw loose.
Reminded me of the actor who's playing. I'm blanking on him.
It's Nicholas
Holt.
Holt, yes. Oh, what a lovely day.
Like having you could see where a lot of the stuff that I experienced in Fury Road, like these were the foundations for all of that sort of way of living.
So cool.
Death. From here we go out into the desert, and the pig killer's like, "Hey, I'm gonna give your little monkey some water, and he's gonna go out there and save your life," but it doesn't really work because Mad Max's horse collapses and gets sucked into quicksand. This is terrifying for me, as you know. One of the three things that I was most scared of in the 80s. Quicksand, chief among them. Lasers, another one, and then 3 wooden spoons. That was a whole other thing.
Yeah.
I I would need more elaboration there.
Maybe I don't.
My mom used to throw wooden spoons at me and my brother when she got pissed off. She broke so many wooden spoons. I was like, get a stronger wooden spoon. What's wrong with you, lady? She had a
How
little tiny
hard
one.
is your mom throwing these?
Like a little
Got a
ninja star.
chooch.
My brother and I were assholes. And so every once in a while, my mom would always be stirring something and she'd go, kick, kick, whack. It just like hit you with a wooden spoon. And at a certain point when you're like 18 and like 4 times the size of your mom, you just take it.
Yeah.
It would just snap on your arm. You're like, oh, God, that's another $5 wooden spoon right there, Elena. Let's use our words. But the sauce was good, and that's all that matters.
My mama took one.
My mama took one. He goes out there and he collapses, and then who does he get found by? He gets found by one of the kids. She tells the rest of the kids to come. We found Captain Walker. He's finally come to take us back to civilization. They take Max back. They cut his hair. He's passed out when he wakes up. For some reason, his leg's tied, I guess, so he can't run away. I don't know. Falls into the water, and we meet Lord of the Flies. All these children who have either been raising themselves. I never really picked up until I watched this one that one of them's pregnant. Start thinking to yourself, wow, this movie does have a diverse cast, Andy. You were not wrong.
I didn't realize that until I saw the credits.
Her name was a pregnant girl or something like that?
Yeah. I was like, oh, shit, I did not realize that.
But I think it's important because you're like, oh, okay, well, obviously she got pregnant because one of the other kids, they're just having sex because they don't understand anything about the circle of life. They haven't seen Lion King.
Mm-hmm. That's maybe an artifact they should look for.
They should figure that one out.
It's 2 days in a row that Nick's brought up the Lion King.
I get it, man. This whole scene, though, I mean, obviously, it's a total shift for this franchise. And it's also clearly the moment where everybody watching that has watched movies before is like, uh-oh, here's the kids.
Yeah.
We're doing this thing. Okay. But I'm honestly pretty surprised at, I don't want to say the restraint that they showed, but more the like care they put into building the story of like the kids having just the few artifacts that they have to learn from, and like they're looking for Captain Walker. Clearly this guy has the answers and they think that Mad Max is him. Like that is just clever enough that I'm like, oh man, there's a lot going on here.
I'm right there with you. When I first watched this movie, I was like, God dang it, get back to Thunderdome. What the fuck are we doing with these kids? And when you're a kid, you're like, there's nothing more boring than kids. I don't give a shit about them. I want to see Tina Turner, who I had a little bit of a crush on when I was like 6 or 7. I want to see her more. She's awesome. She's Tina Turner. She's, Grammy Award winning. Awesome. And then you go back and look at this now and you're like, holy shit, the writing, the production design, the costumes, and the fact that the kid goes, you found him, you get to tell the tale. You get to use the telltale or whatever it is. And she takes out a stick that is the aspect ratio of a movie and starts putting it onto the drawings on the wall to show the kids what she remembered was a projection screen, right? I'm like, holy shit, this is genius. How they speak, how they have integrated wrongly, but also they still get correct. Like it gets across the concept of what they're talking about. How there was this captain, they're using X-ray Delta Charlie, all these things because that was the radio calls that potentially they were told about or heard or whatever. And then they just don't understand how any of this technology works. So when the gust of wind kicks up, they think Captain Walker's here, the wind's here, it's time to go to the plane. They run out and this plane is buried in fucking 30 feet of sand and it's a 747. It ain't going anywhere. But the haunting scene of them standing on top, chanting like Walker, and how they're all just like this like weird sort of surreal lullaby that they keep screaming is awesome.
And it really doing that.
Unique.
Fuck.
Yeah, what's off-putting, right? But like as they're walking through it, it reminds you of like the wind going through, some sort of tunnel or something, and you hear that sort of whistle, but it's the kids, the high pitchedness of them talking about it. I just thought this was cool. I was actually blown away by all of this. And then like, we want to go live in a city. I was like, no. Don't go. This place you're living in is ideal.
Auto, dude.
Yeah, clean water. You got food. You got protection from the elements. And Mad Max, of course, tries to tell him that, but 2 of the kids just won't listen, so he has to knock one of them out. He don't want to do it.
The fucking
dude.
But he punches her face.
I had to rewind this because this is what me and G were watching it, and she like looked down at her phone, and I saw it, and I burst out laughing, and she's like, "What?" I'm like, "You need to see this." And I rewind and showed her, and I don't think I've ever seen her mouth drop that much because that kid got fucking dead.
Well, because like, there's the setup, Tim. There's Max has the wind up, he's got the fist up, and you're like, all right, he's gonna be like,
do it.
You cannot go out there.
Yeah.
Sit the fuck down. It's insane.
Of course. The next day, one of the little kids wakes him up and is like, hey, they took off anyway. So Max takes off with the hunter. I think it's what they call like a 7-year-old kid. And one of the other little kids runs out after. We got Screw Loose, the hunter, and then this little kid that woke him up runs out after and was like, I want to come too. I can help out. To which Max turns to the other one and says something to the degree of, this kid's on their own. They have to make it on their own steam. We immediately cut, and the kid's on Max's shoulders. Just he's already given up. He's already shown that now his humanity is starting to come back by not letting this kid die. They get there, and what do they find? Of course, they find this kid stuck in what he told them was going to happen. He was like, if he says if the desert doesn't swallow you up first, Bartertown will. And they're like, we'll find the city. And he's like, all right, well, fuck you kids then, right? This is why I don't have children. Can't just let him die. It's unfortunate. Saves one kid goes down, unfortunately. And now they're fucked. Now they're out in the middle of the desert, screwed. They have no resources. They can't make it back. Of course, Screwloose wakes them up and says, hey, there's some light over on the horizons. And Max realizes that it's Bartertown.
So cool.
And he's like, it's our only hope. So
also, I love you said this, but when she's looking through the viewfinder, whatever they call it, and she mentions Tomorrowland, and she's like the river of lights, and it's just a freeway. Yeah, like it's so sick, dude. It's cool. And so when they see the lights here, it's like that's such a cool moment.
Do that little viewfinder thing.
Yeah, awesome, dude.
Of course, they go and sneak in. This is where we get some sort of shenanigans here. This is where it really does start feeling like a Disney adventure movie because the kids sneak around. It reminds me a lot of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom in this sequence, where it's very, very campy and kind of weird, but the kids end up breaking out. Master, who is now being held captive because he's at the behest of Auntie Annie, or Auntie Entity. Thank you. They break him out. All hell breaks loose. Iron Bar comes in. Iron Bar gets buried in shit, unfortunately, which is a terrible, terrible sequence. And then they get in the train. They fire that bad boy up, and they rip the entire guts of the town out as they tear off into the desert.
Mad motherfucking Max, dude.
Max. And this is where we get the first sequence, right? This is where we get the big battle sequence, all the dune buggies.
Which is crazy to think that it's like this far into the movie.
It's awesome.
Want to give a shout out to Tina Turner's buggy, which is jet powered for no reason. It's just a jet turbine that she's on the front of. So badass. All hell breaks loose. Of course, we get some awesome stunts here. We get Iron Bar hanging off the thing, like doing the stunt real time on a train, just dodging these fucking things that would probably eviscerate him if he hits them. And then, of course, he gets thrown off, somehow lives. They all come back. The train comes to a stop, unfortunately, because Jed Jr. has buried the tracks. And so they stop the train instead of derailing it. Jed Jr.'s like, everybody be cool. This is a robbery. And then the other lady pops up and goes, and if you motherfuckers move, I'm going to execute every last motherfucking one of you. It's Pulp Fiction, Tim. We'll watch that one day when we do Tarantino in review. And then, of course, this kid just nailing this performance, aiming the gun at him, looks over, sees the marauders coming at him, and goes, oh, my bad, and then runs over to his little car and gets in the car.
Where did his other gun go? He had two big ass rifles
like
with
this,
him.
right?
I think. No, I don't know. Yeah,
it looked like he was initially dual wielding two big rifles. I was like, this is a stick up, and when he's running away, he just has one of them. It looked so freaking funny though. It just like that. I loved that little moment, and then you're like, oh, that's the Sky Captain. Of course, this is where they're gonna reunite. You know,
this is it. The very Han Solo moment of him running away from the stormtroopers here. But this whole scene, it's kind of the first major like action scene of like people running around anywhere. Like we really haven't had much running in these movies so far. So I thought it was kind of cool to see them running around Bartertown, all little different hallways that they have, and dope shit here.
I love that. Of course, the kid's like, we gotta fucking go start the car, and the dad's like, shut up. He's always talking about something, and then Mad Max runs around and goes, you. He's like, oh shit. He's like, get in the plane. They get in this plane. If I'm being real, I don't know if this plane's got the space to hide 15 children in it, and Mad Max, and the gyro captain, and the kid. But whatever. It's a cool looking, weird ass Australian plane. They get in. They have, of course, they go, but they're running out of runway, and they don't have enough runway to get the plane turned around. Why they wouldn't just take off the cliff is beyond me.
It's such a Miyazaki plane, dude. It is such a Ghibli plane.
So Studio Ghibli. So Mad Max goes, don't worry, you'll have enough runway. Just start the plane and take off. And as they do, we don't see Max get off. The plane starts going. The gyro captain looks over, and who do we see in the last remaining buggy that Screwloose has now caught up with him with? They traded. It's Max. And Max is just hauling ass, just dead on.
So cool.
With the Marauders in all of their equipment. Of course, causes just a 30-car pileup. He lives.
This moment feels like this is the end of the trilogy. Everything has built to this moment of like everything you've liked before. We're doing it bigger and better here. Sick as hell.
I thought it was going to be like, I'm going to sacrifice myself here. I'm going to get myself killed. I kind of like that it didn't, but I wanted this hero moment because that moment is so hype of like, we don't have enough runway. And he's like, you will. So sick, dude.
And of course, after the pileup, Iron Bar dies, but not before flipping off the camera, which is weird, but fun. Whatever. Iron Bar, not as good as the other bad guys, the other like sub bosses.
Is Iron Bar the guy with the
Yeah.
I don't
But
know.
fun.
I like him a lot, man. I mean, the head alone gives him layers. You know what I mean?
But he's not as menacing as like the sub boss from
True.
Road Warrior, who is like psychotic.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
we do
it's
get him
scary.
pumping on the train thing. You know what I
That's
mean?
true. That is true. Max, of course, is bloodied. He's crawling away. He looks up, and who does he see? It's Auntie with what remains of her gang, and she realizes that all is done. We're done. So she says, "Well, ain't we the pair, Raggedy Man?" And then she laughs and says, "Goodbye, soldier," and walks away. You have to remember at this point, you're like, she respects Max enough to just be like, "You won the game.
Yeah.
They're done." Of course, at this point, she's watching the plane lift off into the sky, and it's now flying into a sandstorm. And that is it. We roll credits.
We see this, we see the Sydney Opera House.
Oh, I didn't see that. Do we?
As they're flying through, we see a whole bunch of different things, and you see.
Oh,
the
right.
Sydney
We see
Opera
we
House.
see that's right. The buried out city, and then we get their narration of how she's like telling the story of this as all the kids are in the city, and now instead of windows with electricity, it's fires that are lighting the city up. The sort of foreshadowing potentially civilization is.
Dude, it's
reborn.
awesome.
Turning.
Like,
It's
this
really
is
cool.
so cool. In the final moments of this movie, Max is a legend. We see him walking away, and then for Byron, fuck yeah, Byron, you deserve this movie.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
So sick. And of course, credits roll, and you're like, man, are we going to get techno? Are we going to get some sort of synth?
Nah,
We don't need
Sexy sax,
another
baby.
hero. I'm like, you know what? It's such a good song. You put that at the end. You put that in the Silence of the Lambs. It's still going to bang. It's still going to bang. You know? Tina.
Tina, baby.
PT.
All right,
Okay.
y'all. It's time for something I like to call RaGu BaGu.
RaGu.
BaGu.
BaGu. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Bad Guys Talk. Bad Guys here for Mad Max in review. Right now on the list.
Number 1, we have Humongous and the Marauders.
Awesome.
And number 2, we have Toe Cutter and the Knight Rider gang.
Where do we want to put Auntie and Master Blaster?
I mean, I honestly don't think that there's a question that it's number 1 to me personally. like so much creativity, so much insanity. I love it. Every time any of them are on screen, I'm here for it.
Here's my thing. Humongous and I forget the name of the other character, the sub boss, and the Marauders were terrifying to me when I was a kid. They're still scary as shit to watch. So from a standpoint of pure villainy, I think they make more of an impact. Having said that, there's 2 types of Nick Scarpino, right? There's the Nick Scarpino who is like, let's critically analyze something and let's come to a conclusion that makes sense and is backed up by facts. And then there's the Nick Scarpino that's going to go home and listen to the goddamn GoldenEye theme on the way home because Tina Turner slaps so fucking hard that when I think about her, I just want to watch all the stuff. I want to watch this movie again. I would put her at number 1 because anytime she's on screen, she's fucking majestic.
Joey.
As you know, I also have 2 sides, but I am always personally going to side with the fun bad versus the good serious. And
Sure.
I kind of put Road Warrior in good serious and 3 in good bad, or good serious, fun bad. So I'm going to also pick Tina Turner. I do agree that she's not as menacing, but I think her and Master Blaster all together make for a more fun dynamic.
I think it's a better kind of like murderer's row of bad guys here. Like the sum is better than its parts. Because I just really we didn't get much of Master Blaster, but the fact that they existed at all, I think is it's such an achievement.
Yeah,
You
for
know?
sure. So now, before we do the ranking, we do have another podcast from the podcast now. I
yes.
don't know if you remember.
I do not.
Andy?
What is the best name? Name that name. What is the best name? Name that name. What is the best name? Name that name. What is the best name? Name that name.
Currently, number 1, we have Humongous and Golden Youth. Awesome. And number 2,
Awesome.
Golden Youth is so
Amazing.
Number 2, we have Toe Cutter. And like, look, I just got to talk to you guys about
Master
this.
Blaster can't be beat.
It's Master
Come on, dude.
Blaster.
It
That is
really
two
cannot be
people,
beat.
Joey.
Crazy. I know.
But one rides the other one
Like,
with a little helmet.
together they're powerful is a direct quote.
Yeah.
One's the brains, one's the power.
Come on. Yeah, okay.
I would like to give a shout out / what's that other thing when you don't win an award but you get like a side award? Honorable
like,
mention
okay.
Honorable
Yeah,
mention,
yeah.
yeah.
to Dr. Dealgood.
Oh yeah,
also
dude,
really
Dr.
cool.
Dealgood. Put it in there. He's the one who makes it
And
Dr. Dealgood.
It's simple. But Auntie? Come on. Auntie's
Anti-entity?
awesome.
Come on, that's
And
awesome.
yeah, anti-entity is even cooler.
It's awesome.
Mhm.
And just the fact that, like, obviously, I want to shout her out. I want to shout the costume designer again. Like, right, we have the incredible chainmail armor with the shoulder pads. We have the incredible blonde wig, and then we have the like oddly reminiscent of Princess Leia from A New Hope with like the dangly
earrings.
earrings that are just so
Yeah.
fucking rad. And she's just
I love the earrings.
perfect in this, man. Tina Turner's just having fun making this movie. How could
Yeah.
you not have fun watching her?
Great. All right, so there we go. Name that name. We're putting Master Blaster, Dr. Dealgood, and Anti-Entity at the top. So now it's time to rank the Mad Max movies. Currently, number 1 is The Road Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 is Mad Max. Andy Cortez, I want to start with you.
This is
Tough one.
really tough because I think this movie is just kind of too fun to there's a lot of nonsense, but a lot of that nonsense is the fun and is the adventure. And I would put this at number 2. So I would have Mad Max 2 at the top, Beyond Thunderdome, and then Mad Max at the bottom.
I would agree. I like this movie a lot more than I remember liking it. I enjoyed the heck out of it, specifically watching it back now and seeing some of the nuance of the kids' performance. But when I think of Mad Max, I think of movies that I probably should go to therapy because I watched way too young. And The Road Warrior really is that movie for me. It terrified me as a kid. And it's still
so
pretty scary
brutal.
right now because
Yeah.
it's brutal. And that to me is what that series is. That's the vibe. That's the tone. We stray from this in a fun way, but I do think that it makes it slightly less impactful to me going forward. So I would put this at number 2 as well.
Joey Noel.
Oh, this is a tough one because I
Time.
really like this movie, Tim. I think what I appreciate so much about George Miller is that even though this is so like bombastic and campy, the core of it is so solid of like all these little touches in terms of like the folklore-y kind of like storytelling vibe that we're getting through this of the legend. Has like such solid pieces, especially when we're talking about the kids camp and like their evolution and stuff like that. I think even though it is like good, bad, I really like it. So I think I'm going to put it number 1.
Tough
That
one.
puts us in quite the predicament.
This is a
Because
little
I
bit
can, in
of
good faith, put this at number 2. This is so easily my number 1.
Damn.
And I've been thinking about it because I had to watch this movie in 2 halves just because of how my schedule went. And when I watched the first half of this movie, I was like, I talked to Nick about it. I'm like, it's really fucking good, man. And he's like, wait till you get to the second half. Things get weird. And I was like, okay.
Hey.
And then I watched the second half and I'm like, I feel like a bad person for saying that this is number 1, but it's number 1. I just really enjoy it. Shout out to 2, shout out to 1. But yeah, I think that this
None of these movies are bad.
No, they're such a cool world. I like how different they all are. But I just had so much fun for this. I definitely would rather rewatch this than the other 2 any day of the week. Having said that, I don't necessarily want to rewatch this. I just had a lot of fun with it.
Sure.
I'm happy we did this in review. I'm happy we're continuing to. But yeah, I'd put it number 1, which puts it as a tie.
Now, here's what I'll say.
Yeah.
As I hate ties.
Mhm.
Don't like ties. I forgot how we broke it last time, but I cannot stand a tie, so I will change my vote.
No.
What do we do?
4 shall enter. 2 shall leave. I don't know what we're going to do, everybody.
Okay.
But this tie will be figured out with me and Joey fighting Nick and Andy somehow in the next couple
I
weeks.
love this.
Maybe this will be a stream. Maybe it'll be something. But we got to figure this out.
Oh, I love this.
To decide
Oh my gosh.
which is the number 1 Mad Max movie.
We should absolutely.
Nick, bring the
do it.
whistle.
Oh, I'll bring the whistle. I'll bring the whistle and the pain.
So we'll
dying
figure this
time.
out before by the
this is
time we
so
get
fun.
to Fury Road.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
3 weeks from now, everybody. But
If you
there
have any
you go.
ideas, maybe tweet them at
Tweet
me.
at us. Let us know. What should Kind of Funny's Thunderdome be for me and
What's the
Joey versus
tiebreaker?
Nick and Andy?
By the way, I love this going forward in perpetuity. Whenever we have a tie, we need to bring out
We
the
got to go to the
Thunderdome
dome.
again.
Oh,
Yeah.
we gotta
Yeah.
go
And the
to
dome can, it doesn't have to be as big. It could be a little tiny mini dome
You're
that
right.
we just play cards in or something fun like that.
I mean, we
Let's
have we can do whatever
we can
want.
make the dome.
technology
Yeah.
is ours.
Andy, get the
Yeah.
chainsaw.
The
I'll bring
dome
the
will
mallet.
return.
Well, there you go, everybody. Currently, but it will not last this way. The Road Warrior and Beyond Thunderdome are tied at 1, and Mad Max at number 2. Like I said, next week we're going to do either Mark Wahlberg's Planet of the Apes or Godzilla -1. Probably Planet of the Apes. The following week, we'll do Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, the new movie. And then after that, we'll do Fury Road. After that, we will do Furiosa, a Mad Max song.
I'm so excited to watch Fury Road. I've requested a special viewing at Tim's house.
Andy, you want to come through? Nick, you're welcome
When are we
too.
doing this?
We'll figure it out whenever you
In a
guys
couple
want.
weeks.
Yeah, a couple weeks, but it's going to be a good time. We're definitely doing it. It's going to be awesome.
Hell
I have
yeah.
the 4K Blu-ray. Oh, yeah. Let us know in the
gonna-
comments.
I was gonna like turn into Nick with The Departed, where I think like Nick was maybe kind of like semi lukewarm on The Departed, and then as we talked more and more shit, it's the worst movie of all time, and that's where I'm at with Fury Road. Like I remember that movie. That movie's garbage. I'm ready to get my mind changed. I haven't seen it in a long time. We all know that movie's garbage.
Fury Road?
It's a terrible movie, Joe. It's the worst movie I've ever
Wow.
seen.
It
Tweets are
is
probably
annoying.
gonna love it.
Yeah, we'll see if my mind has changed. I haven't watched it in a long time, but I do remember walking out of the theater and like asking for a refund. Just a terrible movie, Joe. I'm just playing it up right now, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was very kind of mid, you know.
It's
I
just,
can't wait.
it's just weird because because Alec Baldwin is like he's a whole different movie. He's
Let's
bouncing
know in the
around.
comments
Thought you
below
were
what
talking
you
about
think about
Fury
Alec
Road.
Baldwin.
You know,
Whatever
Mark
you wanna
Wahlberg
know.
is a comedy relief in a Looney Tunes film. in
Until
this
next
movie.
time, shout out to Master.